some positive news. Lupe Fiasco is going to be a professor at the Johns Hopkins Peabody Institute. They have curated a hip hop degree program, and Lupe Fiasco is going to be a visiting professor for this program. I thought that this was pretty cool news that I'd like to share here. This is in line with our ongoing theme where we try to spotlight instances of the right type of applications to, in my mind, bridge economic divides, wealth divides, and things of that nature. I think that this potentially represents another instance of that. So
Mhm.
we've talked about people like Jalen Brown in this regard, where he's kind of doing practical things that make sense, and so I think this is something that's potentially headed in that direction. So this says Lupe Fiasco is heading to Johns Hopkins University's Peabody Institute as a professor. Lupe Fiasco is stepping into academia to share his insights on rap. The artist born Wasalu Muhammad Jaku, or is it Jacko, announced on Instagram that he will join Johns Hopkins University's Peabody Institute this fall as a professor for its 4-year hip hop degree program. The program is led by hip hop producer Wendell Patrick, who serves as an associate professor of music engineering and technology at the Peabody Conservatory. Thrilled to share that I'll be joining the faculty at the prestigious Johns Hopkins University's Peabody Institute in fall 2025 as a distinguished visiting professor, Lupe Fiasco wrote on Instagram. The rapper behind the show goes on later added the Peabody Institute is one of the oldest music conservatories in America, world renowned for its rigorous training and for producing some of the world's greatest musicians. And I am honored to contribute to this legacy doing what I love most, rap. As for what students can expect, the course will include lessons with a private instructor and opportunities to exercise their creativity among classmates. Following the one on one studio model of a traditional conservatory education, you will develop your skills in lessons with a private instructor. Turntables majors will study with a world class turntablist. Rap majors with a chart topping MC. A description of the program reads according to Billboard, and you'll get to perform with and for your colleagues in an environment that encourages experimentation and authenticity. For eligible students looking to enroll in the course, the deadline is Friday, January 3rd. As for Lupe Fiasco, his support of students does not stop here. He is also a teacher at MIT and will be leading a spring 2025 course titled Rap Theory and Practice. The course is also open to students enrolled at Harvard, Wesley College, and Massachusetts College of Art and Design. While he is pouring into students, Lupe Fiasco is also making time to do for himself. He revealed he is currently working to complete a fellowship at Yale University. 2025 is clearly off to a great start for the artist turned professor. So, what do you make of Lupe Fiasco teaching as a visiting professor at the Peabody Institute for the hip hop degree program?
Yeah, I feel like this is a good fit for him. I feel like this fits in line with his brand. Um, I guess we can lump him in the category of MC. So I can go ahead and dig that. So yeah, I'm not mad at this at all. I'm actually because as you were going through that, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, hey, well, you know, hip hop is more of a thing where you don't want to sit there and make it a classroom kind of thing. But the more I started to think about it, the more I say, you know what, these guys do need to go to school. These guys need to learn the theory behind what hip hop is. So when piecing together a song, it'll be nice for some of these guys to go to school first. Now, who's going to be qualified to go to John Hopkins or MIT or any of these things? I mean, I don't know. I guess the very high end, highbrow type of stuff, but I guess it'll pump out good things. So they said creativity and authenticity. So I hope authenticity is really there. But yeah, I like the idea of people who are interested in being hip hop artists to learn what the craft really is. And I would say, at least from the outside looking in, that Lupe is somebody that uh that honors hip hop the way it does need to be treated. I haven't really heard him go too far off the reservations. And I gotta be honest, man, I haven't really heard too much of Lupe's stuff. Honestly, after Lasers, I was I said I'm not listening anymore. So no shade, Lupe. All right. But what's that? Food and Liquor? Man, that thing I played that thing backwards and forward all the time, man. So and some of his mixtapes too, man. That first and 15 stuff he was doing. So overall, I'm happy about this. I think that more people that are qualified need to give back and do these things. Um, so this is a very prestigious institute in a world. I would like to see this also go on at HBCUs. That would be nice. Where there's more diversity going on in the classrooms. But not to say that the Johns Hopkins situation won't happen. But I still like to see that go on at our institutions. But I forgot bro's name, the guy that played um Play from Kid and Play. Forgot bro's name. But I know he would dibble and dabble. And when I was at FAMU, now I don't know if it was about hip hop, but I know he dibble and dabble in being a professor and stuff. And I know when I was at FAMU, he came to FAMU and I watched him give like a presentation or whatever. So there's people out there that do both things. I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think people like either Most Def or some other people also do like spot classes here or there. So I think it's cool for people that are actual people that uphold hip hop or whatever. Get in there and mix up and teach the young up and coming minds what the craft is really about, so they can carry the torch, if you will. So on the surface, not mad at this, man. So I'm happy for Lupe. And yeah, man, I'll give your stuff a listen again, man. I gotta be honest, man. He's never really on the forefront of my mind, and it's not intentional. But whenever I see his name pop up or whatever, I go, "Oh yeah, Lupe, man, that's the dog." So I'll give his stuff a listen and see how he's been upholding the genre. But what are your thoughts, man, on Sir Lupe Fiasco getting into the classroom to actually be a professor? Badass stuff, man. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool too. Um, you brought up lasers. So Lupe has gone on record that lasers didn't go the way it was supposed to go. So
Yeah.
like the fact that it's not beyond the pale for you to feel like lasers was underwhelming, because he also doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm,
It spent years and label politics and all kinds of stuff bastardized it, but the
mm-hmm,
final yield was not what he wanted it to be.
mm-hmm,
And he's talked about that publicly. I've always thought very highly of Lupe, but Lupe was also somebody who railed against the music industry. He
mm-hmm,
can't stand it.
mm-hmm.
So the reason why he's kind of drifted off into relative obscurity is because he's unwilling to play the music industry game.
He didn't
So
play
he's
ball.
right. So he's either going to release music, underground style, indie style, or he's not going to do it at all because he's not going to get signed to a label. He's not going to play the label politics. He doesn't like the music industry. Like as a business, he doesn't like the music industry.
Mm-hmm,
Shouts out to him for that. Also, shouts out to Marcus Dudley on the chat as
yeah.
always. He said the new Samurai album is dope, so I didn't even
Okay.
know that it existed.
All right. All right.
Um, Lupe is a guest feature on Ab Soul's latest album.
Oh man.
That's the latest thing that I've heard from Lupe. So skill wise, he still got it. He
Okay.
still got it. It doesn't seem like he's lost a beat because he kills it on the Ab Soul album. But yeah, I do appreciate this, and I hear what you're saying about it kind of seeming initially a little wonky that hip hop be turned into academia. But I think at this point, the only way to combat
Mm-hmm,
what popularized rap and hip hop is becoming
mm-hmm,
is to steer it towards the classroom.
mm-hmm.
because if you don't give it that kind of order and structure, it's going to continue to devolve into degeneracy and a celebration of poor, bad, you know, irresponsible behavior.
Mhm.
And again, I'm not totally opposed to the aspect of the music that sort of specializes in glamorizing bad, poor, degenerate, irresponsible behavior. But I think, much like the NBA, hip hop and rap music is losing its balance. There needs to be a balance in terms of the representation of the music. And right now it's off balance because the vast majority of it, from a popularized mainstream standpoint, is all about celebrating degeneracy. And if we're not celebrating degeneracy of a violent nature, we're celebrating degeneracy of a sexual nature. And if it's
Mhm.
not degeneracy of a sexual nature, it is degeneracy of a substance abuse nature. And if it is not one of those three, it is a combination of all three. And that is, of course, not the way that the balanced form of the music should be. It should be all perspectives. But the mainstream aspect of the music is not celebrating all perspectives, it's solely celebrating degeneracy.
Mhm.
So at this point, I feel like the only way to combat that is to put it in the classroom and give it more order and structure so that people can gain that formal education.
Mhm.
So from that standpoint, I am a fan of this, and I'm a fan of any other aspects of it that are being taught in a more formal setting. By the way, kid's name, play's name is Christopher Martin.
Ah, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Christopher Martin. Also, I will say that when you have people like 50 Cent parading around saying that his shows authentically represent Black and Latino communities, again, the only way that you can combat the idea that that sort of content authentically represents entire communities, and that type of content, speaking of 50 Cent's TV shows, is an offshoot of his music.
Mhm.
So the only way to combat that is to put people in a more formal setting where they can learn that that might be an aspect of certain points of particular communities, but it does not authentically represent those communities in totality. But
Mhm.
if you leave it up to people like 50 Cent, they will spread that gospel, and over time, it will become accepted as a universal truth, as more of a unique perspective or a unique opinion. And so, if the classroom can help to provide the balance when it comes to that point of the conversation, then I'm not opposed to it. The,
Yeah.
also, what I will say is, you know, I caught a lot of flack when we discussed D1.
Uh-oh.
I caught a lot of flack in the comments by people who did not appreciate me suggesting that perhaps D1's energy ought to be shifted away from music and need to be put more towards other practical exploits, such as being an educator or being a public speaker, maybe being a writer, author, so on and so forth. And people came at me because they said I should not be trying to insist that D1 move away from music if that's where his heart is.
Mhm.
I agree with the essence of that, uh, type of comment. But I also believe that a person should lean into where their energies are best applied. And given where D1 is spiritually, his efforts to impact the most people are perhaps not in music, but are in other areas like being an educator or being a speaker. That is my personal opinion. That doesn't mean that he should completely put music down, but it does mean that, in my opinion, he would be best served by shifting the majority of his energy towards those practical exploits. That being teaching or music, or not music, but writing, speaking, teaching, so on and so forth. So, that is not necessarily to suggest that he should completely diverge from it, but he
Mhm.
should lean more into that. And that was my point behind those comments. And I feel as though Lupe is on the same wavelength as D1. Lupe might not necessarily classify himself as a Christian rapper, but in terms of how Lupe sees the direction of the music and where he is juxtaposed to the music industry and what it has become, I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure the two of them share many things in common. And so what Lupe is probably realizing is I've already stepped back from the music industry. I already don't release music at a high enough clip compared to what it was like when I first came onto the scene. Where are my energies best applied? Let me be a visiting professor. Hell, if you ask me, he should just go full board and just become a full time professor. At the very least, maybe he should be adjunct. But this is where I think his energies are best applied in terms of impacting the most lives in the way that he would like to impact lives. Because if he is sticking solely to music, he's going to have to compete with other artists who also share real estate in the brains and the listening ears of people who listen to the music. So while you have a young, impressionable mind out there who might appreciate Lupe from time to time, the real estate of that young person's mind from a music listening standpoint is also being occupied by other artists
Mhm.
who don't deliver music and content in the same way that Lupe does. So it's all about diversifying your bonds in the most effective ways possible. And in saying that, I think that this is a great idea. I hope it continues. I hope he continues to do it and that it's not a one off. And again, if this is the best, most effective way to combat what mainstream popularized rap and hip hop has become, I have no choice but to support it.
Yeah, man. So I agree with all of that. And shout out to Dudley, man. So didn't know about Samurai. I didn't know about that, but I just found it and added it to my bars playlist. So I'll give that a listen, and I'll do some homework too, man, because I know he done came out with work over the years, and I've been neglecting it. Not even gonna lie. So I'll give it a listen and get bro back in the rotation. Because again, man, Food and Liquor was when that came out, it came out at a good time for my life. I needed to hear all of that stuff. So and every once in a while, I'll go back and listen to a few songs here or there. So yeah, man, I'll do bro a service and listen to his stuff, man, because I'm sure he's got some stuff to tell me. So yeah, man, because you appreciate people that have a way of conveying reality, in a song where you can get multiple meanings and other things up out of that. So, and Lupe definitely did that for me when I was a younger person, man, when I was in college. So, yeah, man, I'll give bro a listen, and yeah, man, and the people that are attending these courses, man, that they're going to be in for, man, that's a hell of a professor to have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Lupe's great in my bars.
Yeah.
That's insane. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So that's major stuff there, man. And as far as like hip hop being treated as something that could be academia or something like that, I mean, hell, like I always talk about whenever we talk about hip hop, that the art form in itself, when it was created, was intended to be something that could eventually one day be studied. Uh, Now that you can honestly, there's a you can do you there can also be a historical study in what hip hop turned into. Um, there's a science there's a science behind all of this stuff out here that we deem as trash, because it is trash. It literally is brain rot. But at the same time, there's a reason why it slaps the way it does, and there's a science behind that, and that can also be studied.
Yeah.
uh, because this last thing I'll say is that when Future had I saw a little interview where Future was talking about when he made Tony Montana. You know what I'm saying? He said he was so drugged out of his mind that day when he recorded, and so he was so doped up that he didn't even say Tony Montana. He was saying like Tony Montana, like he couldn't really enunciate it. But when he heard it, he was like, "Hey man, this is good stuff." And he took that and ran with it. Now, when we was in college, bro, Tony Montana was going dumb. Uh, I mean, it had everybody going crazy. And for me, somebody that was a hip hop head myself, it was something about that song and other things that Future does with his mumble stuff that I was like, why is this so good? And the thing is, it's kind of like one of those things, one of those I don't know if it's a heuristic or something, but one of those things in the brain where you're trying to make it like by hearing something get mumbled or muffled or cut off, like there's something in your brain that wants to finish it. And so by doing stuff like that, like I know like for certain mixtapes, like certain songs would end abruptly. Like they're still talking in the song and end, or DJ Drama say whatever he's saying and it's cut off abruptly. It's like stuff like that is like it's fire. You want to keep hearing that again. And so there's ways that, and this is when I was trying to make my music, I was trying to take some of these elements that these people do and put it in my stuff where I'm actually giving a message, but I'm ending the song the same way abruptly, saying something that's a little mumbled and muffled. So you try to complete it in your brain intentionally. The thing that I feel as though that goes on with hip hop artists who are so busy trying to stick to the craft, which is nothing wrong with that, is that these people that are liking this other dumb stuff, they're liking that for a reason. And there's something that you can adopt from that, but still get your message across. So you don't have to necessarily talk about the drugs. You don't necessarily have to talk about the crime. There's auditory things that are going on and neuron kind of things that are happening while you're listening to this that sonically that you can mimic, but still put your message in it. So so just the study of what hip hop turned into can also be a useful type of thing. So, but I'm pretty sure whatever he's doing, which is fine, man. I ain't, not so, just studying the art craft as the art form as it was intended and putting together, something with high level, things into it. But I would also say that there needs to also be a course out there that studies what mumble rap turned into. Well, what rap turned into. So, but all in all, big time fan. You know what I'm saying, of him as a person. I wasn't really listening to his music, but because I didn't think he was still active. But now that I know he's still active, yeah, man, I'll give bro a listen.
Yeah, active is a strong word. I wouldn't even say he's
Well,
active.
active enough. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're coming out with something, because Samurai came out last year,
right.
so
Yeah,
that's moderately active. And again, when you're somebody who actually craft your music, it's gonna take you some time.
it is. Yeah.
So I don't, and your boy ruined it for everybody coming out for 7 summers in a row, because he don't want to write anything down. And then yeah, everybody want to blame Steph Curry for ruining the NBA. I blame Jay-Z for ruining what rap turned into because everybody felt like they was obligated to come out every summer.
Well, not only that, but everybody also felt like they were obligated to stop writing too.
Yeah, that all of
Yeah,
that.
Jay-Z did do that. I will admit that because, but I mean, he did. That was the effect that he had. But I don't blame him because he was good at like
Yeah,
stop trying to be somebody you're not. You know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I feel you though. Like after him, all of a sudden everybody's like, I
No
need to
pen, no
try and
pad.
drop an album every year, and I need to like stop writing everything. So yeah, he did do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Lupe, I've always held his mind in high regard, so I am not surprised one bit to see that he's taken this road. And yeah, I hear what you're saying about the science behind, like the auditory science behind
Mm-hmm.
music, because there is something to that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason why Jeezy had the impact that he had. He
Right,
wasn't the first person to be rapping about selling cocaine,
right.
but it was from an auditory standpoint, the way that the production and the beats were, that was sort of an observation in the way the body receives sounds and acoustics and how that works.
Right.
So I hear all of that too. There's definitely an examination on that, but I realized that years ago, which is why, like, I would say after Jay-Z released the Black Album, for me personally, when it comes to the music, I pivoted away from following artists and I sort of transitioned towards
Yeah,
following producers.
yeah,
So
same.
I moved to a point where I would look at a track list and I would look at the production credits. And if it was a producer that I liked, regardless of the artist that was on the song, I would listen to the song. When it for me, it used to be the other way around. I used to
Mhm,
be artist first.
mhm.
So like if it was any of the artists that I liked, it was like, okay, they're on this, let me listen to this song. But as rappers continue to, in my opinion, decline in terms of ability and skill and being interesting, I pivoted and I transitioned more to producers, because to me, I felt like the real talent in this particular genre was in engineers and beat makers and producers. And I felt like a lot of producers were elevating a lot of these rappers and making them sound better than they otherwise would. Like, I lost count of the amount of rappers who I think are trash, but I can listen to so many of their songs because they were produced by the Runners,
Mm-hmm.
or by Justice League, or the Incredibles back when they were together, or some of these other people. You know what I'm saying? Like T minus and all of these other, just these beat makers that were just making fire stuff. It was
Mm-hmm.
just like they're making you sound better than you actually are.
Yep.
So I feel all of that, and that can be an observation too. That can be an aspect of that offshoot of the study of the music from what you were talking about. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, I hear what you're saying, and I just look forward to what can come from this, because, like I said before, my main takeaway is if this can serve as a counterbalance to the mainstreaming of the ideology of the music and the content of it, that to me is a win. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see where it goes, but for now, I'm in favor of this.
Yeah, 100. And yeah, let us know down in the comment section, guys. Who's your favorite producers out there? I got a list. I got a list. And give me some sleepers, man. Everybody loves Timberland, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, give me some sleepers. Some people out there where it's not really that well known, or give me the well knowns. Who knows, man?
Yeah,
But I got a few people that I have in mind, but I don't want to leave nobody out.
right.
So
Yeah,
give me a
yeah.
list. I'll put my list down on these comments too.
Hey, you and me both, bro. I got a laundry list of producers, man. Like, I can go on for days on producers. Rappers, not so much, but the producers, absolutely.
Yeah, 100. Shout out to Lupe, man.
Yeah, yeah. Shouts out to Lupe.